and welcome back to AR77. Today I've got a great opportunity to bring a number of different pistols to the tabletop for you while we look at an area of functionality that has largely been overlooked by myself on my channel. The suggestion for this video came from one of you guys actually in the comments. Somebody expressed an interest in a video around decocking air pistols, and I'd never thought to do anything like that, so thanks for the suggestion. I won't mention any names in case you don't want me to, but yeah, thanks for the suggestion, and hopefully you know who you are. Why would you want to decock a replica air pistol then? Well, a number of reasons, I suppose. You might be out in the garden shooting and the doorbell goes, and you want to bring your pistol inside and just leave it in a safe condition. You don't feel comfortable leaving it cocked, even though you're going to be away from it for maybe only a matter of seconds. Likewise, the dog might need letting in or letting out or whatever it may be. But for whatever reason, you might choose to decock your pistol. So I'm going to go through a number of my pistols, and hopefully represented by one or more of them will be something similar to what you have at home. You might have exact pistols that are the same as mine, or you might have something different, but I'm pretty sure it will follow the same system of decocking as one of these pistols. So let's get into it. First of all, we have the Sig P226. This is a .177 caliber pellet shooting replica air pistol from Sig. Really lovely gun, all metal, and it's got quite a good safety on this particular pistol. As you can see here by the S, we are in safe mode. Here we're in fire mode, and we get a lovely red dot as well. Always good. If this pistol is on safe, by the way, even if you rack the slide and pull the trigger, that will not fire. It still won't fire. I know that the hammer is engaging there, but it won't fire. Likewise, you can't cock it with the hammer. So that's a pretty good safety in my book. When it's in fire mode, if you are ready to go, if the hammer is engaged, the best way, in my opinion, to decock this pistol is to use the third function of the safety, which is the decocker. You just push it a little bit further down and the hammer will drop. Let me show you that again. Brilliant, really good, really straightforward in terms of decocking. There's a .177 caliber pellet pistol that you can decock, single and double action pistol that. Let me put that to one side. We also have a similar gun in terms of functionality. This is the Beretta PX4 Storm by Umarex, another .177 caliber pellet shooting CO2 powered replica air pistol. None of the pistols I show you today are loaded, and none of them contain CO2, so nothing to worry about there. This again has a pretty robust safety. It's not accurate to the real steel, but it's kind of an Umarex safety. So when that's down and it's pointing to safe, you cannot cock the gun. Just the hammer won't stay back, nor will it stay back if you try to do it manually. You have to kind of push these things back and then lift it up to disengage the safety, at which point you can see that the safety lever is pointing to F for fire, and you have the red dot. At that point, you can rack the slide and you're good to go. But if you want to decock it, again, you can use this safety function here and just pop it down and it decocks the pistol. Beretta PX4 Storm there by Umarex. Another good system, in my opinion, should you want to decock your pistols. What else have I got? Okay, BB gun. A lovely replica here. This is the 92A1, Beretta 92A1 by Umarex. Once again, a lovely full metal, fully functioning replica air pistol. Does everything you would want it to do. It's a lovely pistol, is that. And a good safety again. Once the safety is engaged, disengages the trigger completely. You can't cock the hammer like that. You can't rack the slide. It's completely locked off. But when it's not unsafe, if you've been shooting it, you can use that safety to decock the pistol. I'll show you that one more time. Let's say you take your first shot in double action. You do that, and at that point, the slide will rack. It'll blow back, and then you'll be ready for single action for your next shot. But the doorbell goes, or the dog needs to come out or in, and you just decock the pistol. Another good Good system there. The Beretta 92A1, that's a 4.5mm BB shooting, CO2 powered replica air pistol. What else have we got for you? Oh yeah, the hero, HKUSP. A lot of you favour this pistol. It's a really good replica gun, fully field strippable and everything. Still a bit of a, you might even call it a relic now, the fact that it's got a hammer on it. It's not a striker-fired pistol. So again, if you cock the hammer, you're ready to shoot. If we are on safe, it's because it's not loaded. If you're on safe, you can't shoot that pistol. If you are off safe, obviously it will shoot. But even if it's cocked, you have the third setting, which is lower down here, and it will decock the pistol for you. So that's the HKUSP, again 4.5mm BB shooting air pistol that has a decocker. So if it's something that you're really keen on having, there's a range of pistols available to you there. We've talked about the Sig Air P226. We've talked about the Beretta PX4 Storm. We've talked about the Beretta 92A1 and the HKUSP. 2 pellet pistols, 2 BB pistols, all CO2 powered, all with really good safety levers and decocking functions. However, not all pistols have something like that. So let's have a look at this, frankly, quite beautiful pistol, in my opinion. This is the Walther CP88 by Umarex. Again, this is a .177 caliber shooting pellet pistol, powered by CO2. It's not a semi-auto. It looks like it is, but it's essentially a revolver. It carries an 8-shot rotary magazine just in there. So you put your magazine in there with your pellets in, and your CO2 goes in the grip. And this will shoot in either double action or in single action. But because it's a rotary magazine, the slide won't reciprocate. It's not a working semi-auto. So how would you decock this pistol? Well, I guess the most logical way, if you are cocked and ready to go, the most logical way would be to take a tight grip on the hammer, pull the trigger and gently release that hammer before releasing the trigger, and then you're back to your sort of ready position. Now, you can do that, but what if it's a hot day and you've got slippery hands, and as you do that, it just runs away with you. You've now shot a pellet at something that you didn't want to shoot it at. Regardless of what that thing is, it's a pellet that you didn't want to shoot, and that's a dangerous state of affairs, really. Even if you follow those gun rules of pointing it in a safe direction, not flagging things with it, you don't want to just be letting pellets go out of the end of your pistol without you knowing exactly where they're going to go at the end of the day. I think that goes for all firearms, essentially. So it would make sense to me in this situation, if you need to do anything and pop the gun down for a second, to possibly just release that, take the ammunition out, and then do it. At that point, all that's going to go out the end, if you do drop the hammer too quickly, is a bit of CO2. But once again, don't assume, just because it's unloaded, that there's nothing like debris or something stuck in the barrel there. So keep it pointed in a safe direction and make sure that anything it does hit is something that you would be happy to destroy. I know that sounds quite dramatic, but better to be safe than sorry, as they say. Okay, so that's a manual decock. Let's have a look at a different type of pistol. Let's take a look at a revolver here. This is the Legends S40, similar also to the 4-inch Dan Wesson. I think these are made by ASG. These particular ones, these pellet ones, are released by Umarex. Similar sort of thing, single or double action. But when you're ready to go with this one, you might think, well, I'll just eject the shells, just to be better be safe than sorry. But actually, it doesn't kind of want you to do that. It doesn't want you to eject those shells because I think the trigger mechanism is stopping the cylinder from coming all the way out. So you've got to be a little bit more careful here because you're going to have shells in there. So this would be a case of gently, very gently, releasing the hammer and then taking your your finger off the trigger, at which point you can pop it on safe and you're good to go. But I thought it was just worth mentioning that if you thought you could do the same thing for this as you can for the CP88, it's not quite the same kettle of fish just because of the way the pistol works. So once again, you can access your, that's quite stiff, you can access your shells in there, no problem. But once it's cocked, yeah, and your trigger is put back into that single action mode or position, it doesn't want to let that cylinder out. Sorry, try and do that centrally. It doesn't want to let that cylinder out, so you can't necessarily just eject all the shells. You're going to have to hold that back firmly, press the trigger and gently release that. If there's a slip and you're pointing it in a safe direction anyway, no problem, no harm, no foul. You're going to be expecting it to be a possibility, and therefore, okay, that's the risk you take, I suppose. So just be careful with those ones. You can't take all the ammunition out. I mean, you could always purge all your CO2, but that seems like an awful waste, unnecessarily so. Just be careful when you're dealing with revolvers from that perspective. What else have we got? Okay. The Glock. This is the Glock Model 19 Gen 3. This is, again, an Umrex product, licensed by Glock. And this is a double action only pistol. Double action only. So the slide doesn't move. You can't do anything like that. This is the way that this works is, as I've shown you before, you pull the trigger and that kind of, the inner barrel works as almost like an internal striker of sorts. So how would you decock this? Well, in a way, it's always decocked from a, you can never have it in a single action function. It's always a double action. You always have to do that. Every time you pull the trigger, you are cocking it and firing it. Yeah. So again, because this is a Glock, other than that trigger safety, there's no external safety to this. So if you are in any way concerned or anxious about it, the single best thing you can do is to probably just drop the mag, remove all the ammunition from it. Don't assume that there's no ammunition in there, but that would be the safest thing to do is drop the ammunition out of it. And if you were particularly cautious, you could purge your CO2 out of the back there. But yeah, this isn't a pistol that cocks as such. It's what you would call a double action only pistol. Another pistol which functions in a similar way would be the Colt Defender. Again, there's very little that actually operates on this pistol, and it's the same system. If you watch the end there, yeah, when you pull the trigger, it cocks it and releases. Cocks it and releases. The benefit of this one, the Colt Defender by Umrex, is that this has a safety function there. So you can't just pull the trigger. There is a safety there. There isn't even a separate mag for this. The magazine, this is where the CO2 goes, and this is where your BBs go. So again, these you need to be a bit more careful with these, show a bit more discipline really, I suppose, because they don't have that decocking function. It's always important to understand the state of your pistol. I know these aren't real guns, but they are still not toys, and I don't care what anybody says. Even if you are in a country where you are allowed actual firearms of this type, just because these don't shoot the same caliber, just because they don't shoot with the same velocity, doesn't mean that they are toys. You can cause serious harm or damage to anything that lives with these. And people say, oh, it's not going to do anything like a 9mm wood or a 45 ACP. No, of course it's not. But death isn't the only thing that could happen. Famously, you could lose an eye, or you could get really quite badly hurt with these things. So please don't think that they are toys just because they shoot small caliber projectiles at nominal velocities. That has a safety on it. The Glock doesn't. So if you're concerned about that, there you go. How would you decock it? Well, it's not really cocked. It's never really cocked. It's always double action only. Where do we go from there? Okay, let's look at this then. Let's look at the big boys. So, personal favourite of mine, the 1911. This is the Sig 1911 We the People edition. Really lovely 1911 style pistol, and it functions pretty much the same as every other 1911 style pistol out there. So for this pistol, this is a single action only pistol. So if you pull the trigger, it's not going to send that hammer back ever. It's only of a single action. So you can cock it with the hammer, and then you have your working slide safety there. No trigger safety on this. You do have a grip safety, but when your hammer is back, to decock it, you can decock it with the hammer. You kind of have to push it back so that it depresses that grip safety as well, and pull the trigger and then gently release your hammer. I'll show you that again. Like you can't just pull the trigger and it will release the hammer, because it has a grip safety that has to be kind of disengaged. So you have to gently pull it back. See how it depresses that grip safety there? Then pull the trigger and then it will release forwards. That is how you would decock a 1911, but it can't shoot double action. It has to either be cocked with the hammer, or the slide has to be racked like that, and then you can fire. Isn't that a lovely sound? Let's do that again. Oh yeah, I love these guns. Yeah, fantastic. So that's how you would decock the 1911. Pay particular attention to that grip safety when you are pushing the hammer back, pressing the trigger, and then gently letting that hammer go forward. Again, with this sort of pistol, before you do any of that, let's say you're there, yeah, you could always just drop the mag out, and then you know that hopefully your gun is unloaded. If not unloaded, because there could always be something stuck in here, if not unloaded, you know that there's no CO2 in there. So there's nothing that can actually provide energy to the projectile. They don't carry bullets that have gunpowder in them. So there's no force there to push a BB out of the front of the pistol once that magazine is kind of removed. So that makes it pretty safe. So you can release it at that point pretty much risk-free. One thing to mention with these pistols, you can open them up and have a look just to see if there is any ammunition still in there, or sometimes you'll get one trapped in that little bit at the back there. One thing that I use, and I don't know if this is conventional, you probably all have different methods of doing this, but if you get the inside of a biro, you get one of those, and you tip your pistol up. This is good for a variety of jams. If you just drop that in there, it will pretty much go straight down and through, and it will dislodge the vast majority of anything that might be in that barrel. You don't even have to ram it like a rod. You know, if you haven't got a proper cleaning kit or anything, you could just drop that pen down, and it will, for the most part, knock any BBs back down and out of the pistol, so that you know it's safe. And obviously with these, you can field strip them. Once your mag is out and there's no CO2 or anything, you can field strip them. At that point, you can take the barrel out and have a good look down the barrel at that point if you need to clean the pistol. So there you go. That's the 1911 style pistol. That's the Sig Sauer We the People edition. Let me get that out of the way and move on to possibly the most problematic pistol, which is something like this. This is a Glock striker-fired pistol. This is the Glock 17 Gen 4, again, by Umarex. And it's similar to the 1911 in that it is single action only. You cannot shoot this gun unless you've racked the slide. There's no hammer on this pistol to draw back, so it's only the slide and the trigger. As such, it has that trigger safety, so that's your one point of safety there. And other than that, there's no external safety other than under here, which would be to completely disengage the whole functionality of the pistol for when you perhaps put it away. You're not going to be using that while you're in the garden shooting it, because it's, frankly, it's fiddly and it's unnecessary. I tend to put that on when I'm not using the pistol. It's the trigger safety in this case. So with this gun, ammunition. So with this gun, what do you do to decock it? Because now we're cocked. I know that we are in the cocked position. I know that if I pull that trigger, the gun is going to fire. So let me get back into that position again. There's no hammer here for me to grab hold of. So what do? Well, the best thing to do, in my considered opinion, would be, first of all, drop that mag out. If you drop the mag out, like I said before with the 1911, you've got no CO2 in that pistol, so no means of firing a projectile. You've also taken the vast majority of the ammunition out of the pistol. There may still be a BB up in here somewhere, we don't know, but the gun is pretty safe at this point once the CO2 has been removed in the magazine. Again, keep remembering to point it in a safe direction. Don't ever forget that. Don't be pointing at yourself. Don't be looking down the barrel. Any of that malarkey. At this point, you can pop the slide back, pop that slide catch up there, and that will hold it in place. And then you can do your checks. You can see if there's a BB stuck there. You can see if there's a BB in the barrel just there. Yeah, and if there's nothing there, come on, focus. If there's nothing there, again, don't be complacent. Get your trusty biro, and you know it can't shoot anything out because there's no CO2 in there. So you can just drop that down, and it'll come all the way through. You can see it there. If that is in the barrel, there's no BBs in the barrel. Now that's a crude method of testing it, but it's a method that is, I think, pretty safe, pretty easily achieved, and that would be how I would make sure that that pistol was safe. Obviously, when the slide is locked back like that, you can't pull the trigger, even if there was something in it. You know, I mean, you can press the trigger, but it's not going to fire anything. At that point, you know that the pistol is clear. You know that it's safe. You've got no ammunition in there. You've got no CO2 in there. You can release the slide, and at that point, point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, and you are good to go. Your pistol is decocked until you cock it once more. I hope I've covered as many different systems as I possibly can there. Again, please do pay attention to those gun safety rules. Pointing your gun in a safe position. Make sure you're always assuming that your pistol is loaded. Never be complacent about that, because you can get bits and bobs stuck in the barrel. You can get a double feed of BBs that you're unaware of. So yeah, please be safe. But I think I've covered for the most part how to make those pistols safe, or how to decock a wide variety of pistols. I will just bring some notable mentions back onto the table. So we've got the Beretta PX4 Storm there. We've also got the Sig P226, and either the Beretta there, the 92A1, or the HKUSP. All four of those pistols have a working decocker as part of the safety mechanism. So if you're concerned about that, they would be a good place to go for a pistol. .177 caliber pellet, .177 caliber pellet, 4.5mm BBs, 4.5mm BBs. After that, it's your choice, really. I hope I've covered everything. If not, please feel free to fill in any of the blanks in the comments section. As always, please take care, stay safe, all the very best. Goodbye.